Hello everyone, it's Sabrilia and welcome back to my channel. Labor rights of seafarers in piracy, armed robbery against ships, and war zones. Seafarers help seamlessly facilitate international trade and commerce and play a vital role in the global economy. Seafaring is a unique and highly skilled profession, affected by a distinct category of labor law as a seafarers transit waters within and beyond the jurisdiction of multiple countries through their service. However, while at sea, seafarers are vulnerable not only to natural calamities but are also confronted with maritime security threats, such as maritime piracy or armed robbery against ships or the consequences of ongoing conflict or war between states at sea. These circumstances warrant the awareness of seafarers at their labor right under the prevailing laws applicable nationally and internationally. Maritime Labor Convention in 2006. The indispensable role of seafarers made their protection a crucial consideration for the sustenance of international trade and commerce. It became one of the reasons for the development of maritime law, as unrest in labor conditions increased in the early 20th century and the International Labour Organization was created. Maritime labor standards were among the first to be developed. Initially, seafarers' rights were codified from customs and practices in several international instruments. However, in 2006, a significant development came through the ILO's adoption of the Maritime Labour Convention or MLC. The MLC consolidates numerous international maritime labor instruments adopted since 1920 and comprehensively lays down minimum labor standards for seafarers, including their employment, hours of work and rest, medical care, wages, welfare, and social security protection. Presently, the MLC has strong state participation from 101 members countries. Piracy and armed robbery against ships. Maritime piracy has affected seafaring nations since the use of maritime routes for trade. Piracy has been condemned as hostis humani generis, or an enemy of all humankind. It was the first crime against which states were empowered to exercise universal jurisdiction to prosecute its commission. To be practiced, pirates can be attacked and killed without declaring war or formal hostilities. Besides, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in 1982, UNCLOS, faced an obligation on all states to repress piracy on the high seas or in any other place outside any state's jurisdiction. Article 101 of UNCLOS states that piracy consists of any of the following acts. The first is any illegal act of violence or detention or any act of depression committed for private ends by the crew or the passengers of a private ship or a private aircraft and directed. The first is on the high seas against another ship or aircraft or persons or property on board such vessel or aircraft. And the number two against a ship's aircraft, persons or property in a place outside the jurisdiction of any state. Unlike piracy, armed robbery against ships is not defined under UNCLOS. According to the 2009 Code of Practice for the Investigation of Crime or Piracy and Armed Robbery against Ships adopted by the International Maritime Organization or IMO in its Assembly Resolution, a armed robbery against ships means any of the following act. Number 1. Any illegal act of violence or detention or any act of depredation or threat thereof other than an act of piracy committed for private ends and directed against a ship or a persons or property on board, such as a ship within states' internal waters, archipelagic waters, and territorial sea. And number 2, any act of inciting or intentionally facilitating an action described above. Accordingly, to constitute piracy or armed robbery against ships, the nature of the act must primarily be private. Legally, an act committed by a warship, government ship, or government aircraft whose crew has mutinied and taken control of the vessel or aircraft is deemed to be executed by a private vessel or aircraft. However, unlike piracy, armed robbery against ships occurs not on the high seas or the exclusive economic zone, but in a state's international waters, archipelagic waters, and territorial sea, where the state enjoys sovereignty. Also, while piracy can involve aircraft, armed robbery involves only ships. The MLC also adopted this definition in the recent amendment introduced in 2018. This definition also highlights that piracy and armed robbery against ships target persons on board ships, and hence these offenses endanger the lives of seafarers. Besides, pirates often take hostages to extort the payment of a ransom, and this adversely impacts seafarers. This considers the provisions of the International Convention Against the Taking of Hostage in 1979 Hostage Convention, which has 176 state parties. The Hostage Convention makes it a grave offense to attempt or act as an accomplice in hostage taking and obligates state parties to make appropriate penalties. Nevertheless, as a hostage or a victim held captive due to piracy or armed robbery, the seafarers are vulnerable and their service on the ship is hampered. These circumstances not only build insecurity about seafarers' life but also about their wages on other right. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe this channel. See you in the next video, and bye bye.